In this type of work, you have to be willing to swim in an ocean and you don't know if it's an ocean or a river or a swamp, basically. And be willing to make really bad work at times to find things that do actually work. And it's very, I think, trial and error for everyone to even find out, which you can only do from the inside. You can't just sit back and make it all up in your mind what belongs in this world and what doesn't.
I've chosen to adapt my favourite novel, an adaptation of the Master and Margarita, a very loose adaptation, by the Russian author Mikhail Bulgakov. You're dealing with a writer who was very much silenced by the authorities of the time, couldn't get anywhere within the system, and he writes this novel which is an amazing fantasy of the oppressed man, and thereby became this sort of incredible, much-loved work by people everywhere who felt that it gave voice to some sort of beauty of being an individual in a crazy world. And I feel that context changed and political systems changed, but that kind of ability for art to talk to the individual and the individual's imagination is timeless. We are always going onto the stage looking for ways of translating ideas and images and doing so in quite an abstract way. Images evolve and disappear again. Characters are not necessarily fixed. So the narrative frame is completely new. It's becoming, as you can see, a sort of asylum in which a group of people deal with questions about art and failure and love. Part of the reason we work with the group and with familiar people as much as possible is because it does create an environment of trust where risk is possible. For me, the kinds of risks that I'm taking are completely terrifying. It's scary work on some really fundamental level. I've sort of taken out the translation process that most theatre directors go through, where they're trying to achieve a sort of a realisation of a text via performers. I think in this way the performers themselves become the text.
So join that's why.
I think she needs to shut up. I almost want to, I don't want to let Ever get emotional. I don't ever want to hear, tell her to shut up. It's more like, really, this is too weird.
Right, okay.
Yeah. We know each other really well on the floor, so there's an inherent trust that then happens. Risk is incredibly important in terms of making work and in terms of viewing work. I think audiences need to take a few more risks.
Often I'm looking at the kind of push and pull of intimate to large and group to personal, on a thematic and a political level too, because that's partly what the book does so well, is it tells a very intimate, very romantic love story, but also manages to sort of tentacle out and become very much about contemporary society. The aim is to create an event that really has a uniqueness that night, every night. And in that way, I think it's a bit more like being in a rock band or something like that, where you have to connect to the audience. You know, there's no possibility of just treating them in the dark as paying customers. You've got to make sure that they're excited.
As theatre makers, it's our role to nudge things, to get people thinking, to shift people outside of their comfort zones. I mean, that's the role of artists, really.